Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the FactorCareers.com live podcast show where we discuss our training program. We speak to our students and our prospective students to hear their issues, their successes, their progressions. We pool our resources together as a group and we pass on our helpful tips and tricks to get your careers as factoring business brokers on track and progressing forward as quickly as possible. And what I want to talk about with you right now is an important subject, one that's dear to my heart, one that I have used for decades to stay on top. No matter what I did, no matter where I was always on top. How did I do that? I would go into a new industry that I had never been in before, and I would be at the top of it within a month or 2 months at the most. How did I do that? That's what we're going to talk about right now. So, one of the biggest problems that we have in business is we're always doing what everybody else is doing. That's a problem, right? Because how do you stand out if you do the same thing that everybody else does all the time? It's hard to do that, right? As business brokers, right? We're competing with everybody else doing exactly the same thing that we're doing. We're all calling on our businesses. We're all saying, hey, do you need money? We're all calling the same types of businesses. How do you stand out? Well, one of the things you need to do is if you find yourself a small fish in a giant pond full of other fish doing the same thing, look for a puddle and jump in it. Then you're the bigger fish. You just got to shrink your pond. So here I am recently looking around for a puddle, and I came up with one. I was at a gas station, of all places. See, you can find business anywhere. You can get inspiration anywhere if you're looking for it, if you're open to it. And I encourage you to always be open to new ideas. I had a first sergeant in the United States Army when I first joined back in 2001 after the September 11th attacks. I got all patriotic and I wanted to do my part to save lives, which I did. But this first sergeant of mine, we were doing a war game exercise and nobody could find him. And I looked up, there he was sitting in a tree way up atop of everybody, just kind of watching the show as it unfolded. And he asked me to come up, and I sat there with him, and we watched the ensuing battle. And that he was telling me, now watch, they just did this, so these guys are going to do this. And when they do that, these guys are probably going to do this. And he was right every time. And I said, First Sergeant, how do you know that they're going to do all these things? And he said, let me tell you something. No matter how far you go in life, no matter how much you think you know, you need to always be trainable. Always be open to new ideas. Because the minute that you're not, the world will pass you by. And I took that to heart. And let me tell you something. It is 100% true. The minute you think you know everything, you're going to find out real quick that you don't. Somebody's going to show you up. Somebody's going to teach you that lesson one way or another. So, always be open to new things. Never close off your mind. That's my encouragement for you. But let's move on to what we're talking about. I'm talking about shrinking your pond. I'm sitting there at the gas station, putting gas in our car, and I'm chatting with my son. And a tow truck pulls up next to us. The guy's getting gas. And I'm sitting there looking at that tow truck, and it hits me. I bet you nobody is talking to towing companies about factoring. Nobody is hitting these people. And just like that, I walked over and started up a conversation. I refer you back to our first podcast about talking your business. Start up a conversation. It does you no good to have brilliant ideas and not act on them. It does you no good to train yourself to do this and then not act on it. It does you no good to spend all the money that you spent to be part of our course so that you could learn to be a factoring business broker and then never pick up the phone. Talk your business. I walked over and I talked to this gentleman and I asked him some questions. I said, hey, do you guys do commercial accounts? He said, I think every towing company has to do commercial accounts or there's no way we would make it. Every towing company has to do commercial accounts, he said. Do you know, just think about off the top of your head, in your area where you are right now, how many towing companies are in your city? I'm going to tell you, from the research in mine, there's a lot of them. And I don't know a single factoring broker or business development officer for a factoring company that's ever talked to one. I'm working on being the big fish in that small pond. Let me tell you something. A long time ago, I worked in the pest control field. And I was in sales. And I was against a lot of other salespeople in there that knew that industry. I didn't know anything about that industry. I didn't know anything about bugs and all that stuff. I don't know how to sell bug services. And I was struggling a little bit. But then I said to myself, I got to find a new pond. So I asked everybody, what's the biggest part of our area that people avoid? Everybody said the same thing. New construction, new construction, new construction. So I took it upon myself to learn everything there was to know about how to sell our services to new construction. And that's what I did. I became the number one salesperson in the company out of 7 states that the company operated in for selling to new construction. And I did it within a month. Just by being open to that, looking for it. I also became the number one salesperson in the company out of 7 states for selling multiple services per appointment. Because I was selling a new construction and I would sell them everything we had. All at one time. So while other people were coming in with 1 or 2 sales a day, I was coming in with 12. I quickly rose up in that field, in that industry, to become a name in the industry. And I didn't know anything about bugs. Well, now I'm a factoring broker. And I'm a name in this. People know Chris Miller is a factoring broker. People know that I am one of the top guys. How am I one of the top guys? I look for things like this. I find little ponds and I jump in them to become the biggest guy in there. And now I'm sharing this information with you. I want to teach you these things. This is what we talk about in our course. We talk about how to prospect for new business. We talk about what to do when you have that business. Being a factoring business broker, it's an amazing career field. It'll put you on a different path like you have never seen. And those of you that are already starting on it, how great is it? You spend about a week worth of time with a client and you're making 15, 20 grand. Got to be open to it though. So I started up a conversation with this tow truck driver. Just like that, he gave me the name of the owner of his company, gave me her personal number. best time to call, lots of information. And I've been starting up conversations. Now, I will say this, I haven't closed any of them yet, but that's because I don't speak their language yet. I'm still learning their language. As I talk to more and more of them, I learn the idiosyncrasies of what they do and how they do it. Okay? So, like I said, with the pest control company, it took me a month to learn everything I needed to learn before I started closing sales. Here's going to be no different. You know, you got to learn the lingo. You got to learn their ways so that they understand you and you understand them. Communication is a two-way street. But once I get it down, I'm going to be closing so many sales in this field that it's going to shoot my income to a new bracket. And that's what this is all about. So I want to share that all with you guys, because if you are a factoring broker now, think about getting into that. Start looking for tow truck companies in your area. It's going to be a great source of income for you, that you will be the bigger fish out of all the other brokers in your area, because nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it. So just like that, you'll be the biggest fish in that pond in your area. Okay? Hey guys, thanks for thinking of us, and thanks for being here with us tonight. I want to talk to you real quick about our program. For those of you that are thinking about getting enrolled and joining us on this amazing career path. Okay, thanks for taking the time to be with us. And personally, I appreciate when you take the time to evaluate us, because we evaluate you. Remember that working for yourself is not for everybody, but if you feel that this speaks to you, then please speak to us and let's get together on it. We all live our separate lives as factoring business brokers, but that does not mean that we're separated. Support for each other is the biggest part and the greatest strength that I think we have in this program here at factorcareers.com. And I encourage everyone to talk to each other when they're in training. I encourage you to reach out to me directly when we're in training. I encourage you to reach out to me directly after you finish and graduated our course and you're starting your big career as a factoring business broker. I want you to do the very best that you can, because your success is our success. Everybody, thanks again for being with us tonight. As always, I'm Chris Miller, reminding you to always keep smiling.